All right, ladies and gentlemen, good to have back again once again. Let's lock in. Shout out to the IPA, International Passport Association and affiliates. Good dice, good books. All my merch, description there below. Let's talk about it. I said this one time in a live show, and I never repeated it again, but I once referred to the Passport Bro movement, more specifically, as a fraternity. I once compared the Passport Bro community to that of a fraternity, a frat, a brotherhood, an organization of sorts, right? And I never really went into detail about it, and today I want to take a moment to get into the details about why it reminds me so much of a frat. Number one, I'm not saying that traveling is a young man's game, because it's not. But what I've noticed is that the majority of the guys making Passport Bro reference material, putting it on the internet and stuff like that, usually are young. Now, when I say young, that could be 45 and younger, right? I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of my elder brethren out there getting it in. But the ones that make the content about Passport Bro movement seem to be 45 and below, right? And it's a brotherhood, it's a collective. A lot of people will sit there and tell you that it's a collective for African-American men coming together, choosing the alternative, or rather dealing with women in the United States or in Western countries. They're opting to date abroad and see what their options are abroad. And again, I am all for my brethren traveling, bro. It's been a long time coming. I can remember times wherein I was overseas and I wouldn't see another brother, more specifically, we'll say African-American, for months, right? When I was in the Philippines, like I said, my African brethren, I should say, or people from Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, you would see a lot of them there because they also studied in the Philippines as well. So that's not uncommon, but African-American, you didn't see it like that. So now that there are a lot of brothers out there looking to make the move, I encourage it 100%. But back to the idea of it being a fraternity, I think of fraternities like organizations. They're a little bit brash, they're a little bit brazen, they're a little bit cocky in their approach. You know, they're a uniformed community, an organization of sorts, like I said. So if you've seen movies about frat houses, and I'm pretty sure some of this may be true to life, but if you've ever seen movies where it dealt around fraternities and stuff like that, they like to have grand parties, right? You know, fraternity hosted parties and shit like that. So how do I reference that to Passport Bros? Have you ever noticed that usually whenever they're posting their videos, it's usually a group of them together for the most part, unless somebody's a solo traveler, it's a group of them together, and they always got a group of women around them. I can remember a video that popped off in Mexico where guys had a whole bunch of girls around on yachts and little parties and shit, and they pouring drinks on girls and all that shit. They love that type of content. They like putting out that type of content to act as if they're living their best life, right? So you'll see a lot of Passport Brethren do content female-based. Like, it's heavy into the females, right? Women in parties, women in drinking, women in clubs, women in one-on-one interviews, women with multiple interviews and stuff like that. There's a lot of me and my guys out here having fun. We're hugged up with the baddest bitches in the country type shit, right? They need to be seen. Usually your fraternities, maybe when they have parties, it's usually, you know, a closed door policy where we don't have to show or expose everything that we got going on. But a lot of guys, when they're traveling, more specifically those that associate themselves with the Passport Brethren movement, they want everybody to see them living their best life. And again, I'm all for it. If I'm going to pay my monies to go overseas and all that stuff, I want you to see what I got going on. You know, I want you to see what I'm doing. Maybe not to that extreme, but I want to be able to share in some experiences, some things that I think you guys could potentially learn from in the video, or some things that, you know, you should avoid. You know, some educational material has to come of it. That's the only rule that I have for my own channel. Got to be educational somewhere. There's got to be some education in it, right? Granted, if I was a single guy and I had a whole bunch of girls in videos with me and stuff like that, there had to be something educational in it. Maybe I'd ask the young lady, you know, what should foreigners avoid with, you know, Filipino women or women in Brazil or women in wherever I'm at the time. I would ask them like that. So I want to hear it from a woman's perspective. Because again, they probably played these games before, so they know how women play the game, right? And you would expect them to be real with you, but again, everything you would take with a grain of salt. But back to the idea of the Passport Bros being a fraternity, right? There's no hazing ritual that I would like to say goes on with the Passport Brethren movement. You can just hashtag a video, and if you're a traveler, pretty much everybody will probably more often than not welcome you into the Passport Bro community. But To think that everybody in the community gets along is very, very far-fetched. We've seen this more often than not, and we've seen it happening a little bit more now than it probably did when the movement first happened, right? There's a lot of guys in the foreign travel community in general that just don't fuck with each other, or they just don't get along, or they link up and they realize that their ideologies do not necessarily agree with one another, right? One person may say this, and you'd be like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't really rock like that. So all of a sudden, because you have differing viewpoints and stuff like that, y'all pretty much kind of branch off into your own ways. Granted, quote unquote, if you look at it from the bigger umbrella, you would say that you're part of the travel community or want to be a part of the travel community. But whether you associate yourself with, AKA I'm a passport bro, or this, that, and the other, past blue book gentleman, brother by the name of Brazil, yes, coined that particular group or movement, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, there's so many different ways, there's so many different, approaches to the term of what you would refer to yourself as part of the travel community. But overall, you are part of the travel community. And not everybody gets the fuck along. Not everybody gets along. I know people that can't stand each other right now. Right? Can we all just get along? No. Right? Because you may have one guy that wants to come to the country and fuck off and do all kinds of crazy shit and record girls' asses and, record them banging out chicks, or, I've seen this. This is real. This is like some behind the scenes shit. It's not that I don't think you'll get away with posting it on YouTube, but if you go to Pornhub or X videos, it's a little different, right? But I've known guys that really want to basically immerse themselves in what we would refer to it as a sex pack community, right? Guys that just travel abroad from, just to get laid. Right? And then these are the types of guys that I think the majority of people who have a disdain for passport guys, these are the types of guys that they're pretty much talking about. Your sex pets, the guys that pretty much go overseas just to get them some ass. I can never tell a man what to do with his monies. Can't tell a man what to do with his livelihood. That's him, right? I can warn him against putting out certain type of content, but other than that, you got to keep it pushing, right? But the fact that there's beef in the community and there's separation, and it is unfortunate, but it's a reality of what we're living in, right? It's a reality that everybody, even those that represent and or feel that they're part of this passport bro travel community, they're not gonna fuck with somebody over here. Maybe they lame over here. Maybe they don't live the life that they live on one side of the spectrum, on the other side of the spectrum, as it pertains to the travel community. So you have a lot of guys that don't get along. So again, that would probably be the breakdown of the fraternities, right? If you think about it, it sounds funny, but let's go ahead and break it down. There have been a multitude of different reference points or different types of groups or fraternities that would represent passport bro in general. I, myself, shout out to the big homie, HT Logistics 3434, a long time ago. He was the founder of the International Passport Association, right? Something that I constantly shout out, the IPA, right? That you could call that a collective. It's not necessarily collective because it's just a group of guys that associate with travel, right? Nothing more, nothing less. Passport bros, hashtag passport bros. A group of guys that associate with travel, but in their own perspective. More so a group of black men, more specifically, would refer to or reference themselves as passport bros. Right, then you got Blue Book Gentlemen, like I mentioned before, and then you got other guys that have probably created their own specialized travel group, right? So do they all get along? We should, but we don't, right? Because sometimes you may say some things that have fighting words, and I mean, you go on the internet, man, you see the internet beef between guys traveling. I know there's a video coming out, or it's already came out, about two guys that came together in a particular country, and now all of a sudden they had a fallout. Now all of a sudden everybody's got to tell their story about the fucking fallout, right? Then there's a video that was recently made. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Shout out to the homie Sunshine Shoulders in reference to, I want to say it was black men disproportionately being taken advantage of in the Philippines. I think that that's something that is not talked about as much as it needs to be talked about as well. A lot of guys come to the Philippines and get taken advantage of. I haven't watched the video yet, so I don't know its talking points, but I'm pretty sure we would probably be on the same lines of guys being not disrespected, but being taken advantage of, because you're so bought into this particular movement that you kind of turn a blind eye to a lot of shit. And I say that before and I'll say it again. But when it comes to this passport bro community, I kind of believe that a lot of guys are pretty much acting more like a fraternity in an organization, or they have this fraternity frat-like mentality. And again, it's no disrespect to anybody who's in a fraternity, but you know, when you're young and you're having fun, especially during the college time or college life, you're gonna do some shit. That's the kind of energy that I'm trying to give out in this video in reference to how I feel about a lot of passport guys. They just want to go out, cut up, and fuck up, right? They want to cut up. It is cool, but when you start recording it, posting it, yo, look at me in this particular country, look at this girl in this particular country, all right? Not knowing if that girl got a man, not knowing if that girl seeing somebody, she is somebody's baby mama or some shit like that, and that person gonna come looking for you because you exploited his young lady in a particular way. Granted, she wanted to be there probably. It's just the fact that you did it, and now you have to deal with certain types of repercussions. Right? It just comes with the territory, gents. It truly does. But that's just my philosophy on how I look at, you know, the passport bro movement. I'm still relatively young to an extent, but I was able to travel at a young age because my dad was in the military. So a lot of the things that a lot of guys are doing that represent certain factions in this passport bro community shit, I can't get with, and I'm cool to say that I can't get with it because at the end of the day, I am my own person, and I think everybody who associates with any type of organization or puts themselves in any type of affiliation, y'all still got to know how to think for yourselves, right? Because if you don't know how to think for yourself, guess what? Like they say, man, if you don't stand for something, if you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything, something like that. And I just want y'all to be on your P's and Q's, man. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I would be glad to hear what you guys got to say about it. I think this is an awesome approach to an awesome dialogue and a conversation that I want to have about the movement. I know there are going to be some people who don't care about guys who participate in the movement. I know there's going to be some people who are down, you know, down to the T to represent whatever this movement is all about to them. Because everybody's interpretation of the movement could potentially be different. But that's my time, effort, and energy, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all locking in. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to share, like, comment, and subscribe. This has been a good thought, man. Y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed. Doc is out.